Coming up on Guys Talking Sports, we talk about the NFL coaching changes that's going on right now with Chip Kelly going to the 49ers. We're going to talk more in detail about that. We're also going to talk about the NFL playoffs and what happened this past week. We're also going to talk about what's going to happen this week, the second round of the playoffs, the NFL playoffs. Also going to talk a little bit of NBA as well. My guest host, Adrian Catwell, joins me right now, and that's on Guys Talking Sports. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Guys Talking Sports. My name is Al Qualls. I'd like to thank y'all for joining us on Guys Talking Sports as well. We have a lot to get started. We have a lot to cover this week with everything that's been going on in the world of sports today. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest host with me, Adrian Catwell. So what's going on, Adrian, man? How you doing?
Man, everything's groovy, man. It's Thursday. One more day of the work week. Plenty of sports to look forward to this weekend. You can't ask for nothing better than that, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So we're going to get started, and we're just going to go right into it. We're going to talk about the NFL, of course. There's some major changes that just happened today. Let's start with I'll start with your team because, I know that you're a 49ers fan, and they just hired Chip Kelly as their new head coach. So I want to get your take on that. Adrian? Did we lose you? Adrian? Oh, we lost him. Well, let me talk about I guess we'll get him back on in a minute. But for now, I guess let me talk about my team hiring, well, not really my team per se. Oh, wait, Adrian, are you still there?
Yes. I had a little bit of technical difficulties.
That's quite all right. I didn't know if you heard what I was asking, but I wanted to get your take on the 49ers hiring Chip Kelly.
I'm not opposed to the hire. I recognize that the offensive pieces that we have on the team, we all know about Kaepernick, what he's capable of doing and putting that particular offense. We have some young stud running backs. Don't know if they're shifty enough as, or as they say in that type of particular system, have like that quick twitch that would be needed for the type of style of play running back that Chip likes to run. Carlos Hyde came from Ohio State that likes that. Even though it was a sprint type of offense, he's more like a powerful running back. And that's a particular type of offense. He likes shifty, quick feet, quick hip type of running backs. And we got some decent wide receivers, Torrey Smith, and even though Antoine Bolden is getting a little older, still a very reliable receiver. So, and especially, we of course don't have Vernon Davis anymore at tight end, but we still got some young studs at tight end. So, offensively, we're going to be all right. As long as he does not have any control of the GM, I am totally fine. He was cool when he was running his offense and his team in Philly prior to all of the noise that was coming out about him not being personable with his team, and I think his ego got the best of him because I guess he figured that his system could fit any player, but NFL is a lot different than college. When he was at Oregon, he was getting some of the best talent in the country to come to Oregon. When you're in the NFL, you got the best talent, period, in the NFL. So when you got some superior talent, you need to hold on to your superior talent and don't drive it away. So I'm hoping everything that he's learned over the 3 years in Philadelphia was a humbling experience for him. And he's learned from it and learned to be a better teacher and could take that experience and maybe prove to everybody that he is the coach that can actually be successful in the NFL. So, again, I'm not opposed to it, but as long as he doesn't have any type of GM control, I think they'll be okay.
So let me ask you a question. I mean, I guess with everything that went down in Philadelphia, do you really, in your opinion, do you think that the team there is going to have any reservations in regards to working, or what about any free agents that originally had the desire to go there? Do you think their plans may have changed now that Chip Kelly is their head coach, based on the previous history he was with in Philadelphia?
That's always a possibility. You know, the guys talking NFL. I mean, they're probably not all friends, but I'm sure guys who in Philly know guys that play for the Niners and have conversations, or there's rumbling. So, I mean, that is to be expected. But all you can do is hope that, you know, he can convey himself as being a different individual as far as being a coach, and being perceptive to the wants and needs of his players and become approachable. And if he can show that he's changed and he can show that he's a different individual, he may not get the free agents that they might be targeting this season. But if they have a successful 2016 season, I think that he can get the free agents to come in on 2017, because they can say, nah, that coach that was in Philly, that's not the same coach that's here in San Francisco. I mean, he may still implement some of the same things, like I heard about the different meal plans and all types of stuff that, you know, he incorporated, that the offense is fun, but, you know, hopefully he learned the good things and he learned the bad things, and he'll incorporate both to run a more successful ship in San Francisco.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. Now, do you think that he'll revitalize Colin Kaepernick's offense?
I truly believe that Kaepernick was at his height of successfulness when Harbaugh being a coach and Harbaugh being a quarterback coach, but also recognizing the skill set that Kaepernick had and used that to his advantage. So, of course, when Harbaugh left and the OC, the offensive coordinator, left as well, and Tom Sula came in, it came with a different offensive philosophy. I'm not stating that Kaepernick couldn't run that offense. You know, we've learned now that it's not off-season day. He was definitely battling through different injuries, but that's no excuse for being inaccurate and playing that way he was playing. I just don't think he was very comfortable in the offensive scheme that he was in. And, you know, Kaepernick is very successful when he's running out of the pistol, doing some zone read, confusing the defense, and I think that's what Chip Kelly will get back to. Because if he could take a quarterback like Nick Foles and make him successful enough where he could trade him and get a third-round pick, and then Nick Foles has the type of season that he had in St. Louis, you're like, okay, then he can probably, I would say I think he has a 70% chance of turning Kaepernick's career around, where he'll be more successful in this coming season, probably getting back to what he was in 2013, 2014.
So, and one more question about this. So does this make the 49ers, do you think next year the 49ers will be a playoff bound team?
NFC West is very competitive. As long as Carson Palmer stays healthy and the core of that Arizona offense stays together, and Seattle's just Seattle. They're just going to be a juggernaut. It'll be interesting to see how they handle some of their free agent, guys that have been coming up for free agency. See how that whole thing plays out. But I think the 49ers will be a better team. Will they contend for their division? They may have opportunity to contend for a wild card spot, but of course, you know, you can't have three teams come out of one division. So unless Seattle or Arizona kind of falls off a little bit, then I don't see it happening. Not this season, at least.
Okay, I mean, I like, this will be interesting. I mean, make no mistake about it. This would be very interesting. I'm more interested in the actual defensive side to see how things change from there for next season. Um, so let's go into the other topic of the week, which is the St. Louis Rams actually got the bid to move to LA. I, I'm gonna just say this off the top of my head. I feel sorry for the St. Louis fans. But it looked like it was just inevitable that the NFL wanted a team in LA. I mean, and at this point, it was really, like I said, it just felt as though that it was inevitable at this point. There was a lot of rumblings about it beforehand, and I think the NFL just made the push to, to get the stadium and get everything going to build a big. And since LA has a bigger fan base, it just seemed like that was just what they was planning to do from the jump. I just want to know your thoughts about that.
Well, they're talking about LA being the second biggest market in the media market in the country, and that the NFL can't capitalize on it because the NFL has no teams in the NFL in LA. So now they're allowing St. Louis to move up. Hold on. Now they've allowed to LA to move, St. Louis to move back to LA, which is cool. Like you said, I do feel sorry for St. Louis because they've been a loyal fan base to their team now for 20 some odd years. But hell, this is the NFL. They're all about making money. So anything that they could do to generate more billions for their brand, they're going to do what's in the best interest of the NFL. They're not going to care about another team leaving one city to go to another. I think I read somewhere where St. Louis's mayor said they're not going to pursue to have another NFL team in St. Louis, which I think is kind of sucks because I think they're deserving of a team. They got two. They got the Cardinals. I think that's about it. They don't have a basketball team. So, I mean, they can still, St. Louis baseball has been very popular, so, past 5 years or so. So, I mean, they're not devoid of a sports team, but it's unfortunate. And, of course, now San Diego is in the mix for sharing this opportunity with the Rams with this monstrosity of a stadium. I think I was listening to Mike and Mike. I believe it was this morning with Schefter, and they were talking about the stadium. There were two different destinations, LA and one other destination, and they're saying that the one that they approved was a $2 billion project that's going to be like part Hall of Fame, part this, part that. So it's just too big of an opportunity for them to pass up to sit there and say, no, they're not going to do it. So, like, when it comes all down to it, it's all about the mighty, mighty dollar bill, and cash rules everything in the NFL. So,
like the guy said in Concussion, they own Sundays. So you talking about an organization that owns Sundays. Like, there's nothing else you could say about that. But like I said, I just feel bad for the St. Louis fans. And there was talk about them saying that people that were actually calling in that was St. Louis fans was just like, it's just too hard, and it's just too hard for them to root for them in LA because of what happened. And somebody mentioned, well, you can always root for Kansas City because you're not in the same state. And they was like, that's like New York fans rooting for Boston if New York Yankees were to leave. Right. So it's you have those true fans, and I could definitely vouch for that because me being I'm a diehard Nets fan, so it was hard for me, kind of hard to see them move out of New Jersey to go to Brooklyn, and it took me a minute for it to even like become a fan again. So I definitely understand the heartening. and I could definitely understand fans' disappointment. But like you said, it's all about the money, and you're going to see some fans that's actually going to stay true to the team and root for LA no matter what. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But more is also interesting to see how divided the California teams are going to be now, because you got Oakland, you have the Chargers, and now you're going to have the Rams. So it'd be interesting to see and Oakland. I'm sorry. So did I say Oakland already? No, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that Oakland, San Francisco, the Rams now, and the Chargers. 4 teams in the California state alone. So it's going to be well divided. Mm-hmm. Even though, like you said, LA is the second biggest city, marketing wise. So it'll be very interesting to see how that folds there.
Right. And they're talking about it as soon as next season. So the stadium is not going to be finished until like 2018. So I think they're going to be playing in the Coliseum until their stadium is complete. So it'll be interesting. I hope St. Louis, sometime in the future, if their economy picks up a little bit, they can go out there and get another franchise. They got a beautiful stadium. I've managed to stay at a hotel right across the street from the stadium in my travels during my travel days for work. And it's a beautiful stadium. Unfortunately, it was during baseball season, so I didn't get a chance to go to a game. But I think it's a city where they can get somebody to either a startup, if they ever decide to bring in another team or two, that St. Louis could possibly be that destination. Plus, the stadium is still available for college games and other things available, so it's not like it's going to not go to use, even though they're not playing any NFL games there.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like, you have so many different teams out there already to begin with. So, yeah, you're right. It's not like the stadium is not going to be used at all. You have, alternates there, plenty of alternates. But It makes me wonder, now that St. Louis is moving to LA, would that change how the setup is as far as the division goes, since it's moving farther west?
No, I think they were always in the NFC West. It's just when they moved back over to St. Louis, they never took them out the West. Yes, I don't think it makes it just makes sense, because they're now all the teams are back out west again.
That's interesting. So, that's an interesting theory, because let's say, for example, if they moved out east, would they still be a part of the Western Division of sorts?
I don't know if they.
Wait, did they do that with Baltimore when they moved?
I think they made it so that there was additional divisions.
That's right.
They swapped out the divisions, made it 14 divisions or 14 divisions, however that works.
Yeah, I think you're right about how they did that. Yeah. So I have to double check that.
Yeah, so I mean that's cool. Hey, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they're getting what they want, and hopefully everybody's happy moving forward. So
that's true. Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about the outcome of this past weekend's playoff team scores, teams. So I just want to get your take on what happened, like, for example, with the Minnesota game and the Cincinnati, both losing the way that they lost.
You got to feel bad for the kicker for Minnesota. Had the opportunity for them to win. It would have been nice to see a young QB in Bridgewater get the opportunity to make it to the second round of the playoffs. And who were they playing? Minnesota lost to. Who did Minnesota lose to? I forget just that fast.
What, was it Green Bay?
No.
No.
Beat Washington.
No, they beat Washington. It wasn't Seattle. It was.
Yeah, it was Seattle.
It was Seattle.
Yeah, it was Seattle.
It was Seattle.
So Seattle got off the hook. It made it to the second round. So it's hard to, it's hard to fathom in that cold weather how they were even able to muster the points that they're able to muster. But gotta give kudos, gotta give props to Seattle for playing a tough game, only giving up what, 9 points or 7 points actually, giving up a touchdown. So Minnesota's gonna be something to deal with as long as Adrian Peterson is healthy, as long as Teddy Bridgewater continues to develop. He'll be great. He'll be great moving forward. Great young quarterback. Cincinnati, that's the Cincinnati, man. They can't seem to get out their own way, even when things are actually going the way they want it to go. They just need to hang on for just 2 or 3 more minutes. They seem to implode, and so it sucks that they can't seem to. They do so well for the regular season and then get to the playoffs. If it's not one thing, it's another thing. So hopefully they can learn from this. Montez Burfict, heard he was a problem going all the way back to college. So, and of course, then the whole Adam Jones, West Virginia alumni. I'm very proud to say, he's had some crazy things go on in the past, which is very unfortunate, but he's been doing better. It's crazy, his actions and the actions of Joey Porter coming out on the field, and the whole big hoopla. Is the refs had it out of control. The teams are out of control. If the refs would have nipped it in the bud a little bit sooner, maybe things might have been a little different. But it's the NFL. I don't think the refs wanted to make it a situation where they would have decided the outcome of the game. So I think that's the reason why they probably just let them play the way they were playing. But they really should have tried to restore some order so that the game would have been not as out of hand as it was. And who else lost? Kansas City. Kansas City destroyed whoever they played. Oh, Houston.
Houston. Yeah.
That game was electric. Like, it was just, you knew the game was just going to be like a wild type of game when they took the opening kickoff for a touchdown. It was like, yep, it's going to be one of those type of games. And lo and behold, Houston, Matt Schaub couldn't get out of his own way, throwing multiple picks and all that good stuff. So I give props to Houston for, fighting their way and making it to the playoffs, but Kansas City's just been rolling, man. I think they won, 10 games in a row?
Yeah, something to that extent, yes.
I mean, Andy Reid got that team on track. Alex Smith is more than just a game manager, man. He's showing that he is definitely a legit quarterback in the NFL. Everybody wrote him off as dead. And once again, you got to give props to Harbaugh for Harbaugh to come in and mold and shape him into the QB that he is right now. Because, if Harbaugh didn't come in there, I don't even think Alex Smith would be in the league right now.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
So the last game.
That was Washington and Green Bay.
Yeah. I got my wish. I think
so. I'm going to ask you, since you're down in Washington, how did the fans take that?
They took it well. I think they felt when they jumped out to that 11-0 lead, I believe, that they felt good about going where they were going. But they were upset that the coaching staff didn't make the necessary adjustments to stifle Green Bay, especially when Aaron Rodgers started going to that hurry up when he was recognizing that they were trying to sub, and he would call the plays and run plays before they can get their the defense was able to get set. And, once he started doing that, the offense was rolling, The Skins just had no way of defending that. And I don't know if that just comes from the defensive coordinator not really prepared for that, or if Green Bay didn't really run it that much, or it was just a matter of Green Bay saw something and exploited it, which I think they just saw something, exploited it, and just went to the races with it. And as the game went on, Aaron Rodgers just became better and better. The wide receivers became more sure-handed, and the running game became alive, man. That's the one thing I think that really irked the Redskin fan base, was that Green Bay had pretty much a non-existent running game most of the season. Excuse me.
No, you was absolutely right, because to be honest, I was stunned at the fact that they started utilizing the running game that much, because the past couple of games I thought it was they were so ineffective to run the ball, and I thought that was stopping them from their passing attack as well, because they wasn't pushing the run. And it was interesting to see them start doing that as the game went on. And once that started going, you started seeing the passing become a lot more smoother. So I completely agree. Like, once they started implementing the running play, I think that's what changed their landscape.
Yeah, that and the defense for the Redskins was just pretty much all off key. Like, once they started doing that hurry up, and they started going, and they just knocked them off, and they just couldn't find their way. They couldn't get their footing anymore, and Green Bay just kept going at them, and it was a wrap. Now I think Green Bay plays Seattle. No, Carolina.
No, Seattle plays Carolina.
Yeah, Seattle plays Carolina. I think everybody's probably picking Seattle over Carolina, and Cardinals over Green Bay. And I'm thinking that Green Bay has something to prove. The Green Bay has something to prove, and that they're gonna go in there and do something.
I don't know. Well, first off, let me before I go to the picks and stuff like that, let me go back to the Cincinnati thing. It was amazing to me that how that team imploded, where with so much going in state with that team, it just seems as though that, like you said, they can't get out their own way. And the NFL refs didn't do nothing really to help the situation. I just really thought that they had everything in their grasp to actually get over the hump that Andy Dalton couldn't do, their starting quarterback they had. And just to see how it imploded was crazy. But the Blair Walsh thing, it happens, I felt bad. Like you said, it felt bad for him. But in the end, I don't think it was to a point where everybody's like, he needs to be, fired or anything like that. It's just a once fluke thing where sometimes the easiest things, can't be done. So I can't knock him for that. I do say this, like I said before, the NFL refs this whole season has been very suspect. And it's going to get to a point where one of these games that's coming on maybe this weekend or the championship games, something's going to happen where the refs is going to miss something, and that could change the whole outcome of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems as though it's inevitable at this point. I don't want that to happen, but I just have a feeling that something like that is going to happen. Whether it's going to be something that should have been a touchdown that wasn't a touchdown, and something. It just seems as though something like that is going to happen, where the NFL is going to have to take a look at it and say, look, something has to be done with these referees. So I'm not, forecasting anything like that, but it just seems as though something is going to happen, and the refs are going to be to blame for this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, but I had to say that, I digress. Going back to what I was saying. The Seattle Carolina game, I'm very interested to look to see how that plays out. I think that's going to be a tight game, more than anything. I really believe it's going to be a tight game. If it was in Seattle, I probably would pick Seattle, but since Carolina's hosting it, I probably would go with Carolina at this point. The Green Bay Arizona game, I would probably choose. I just think as though, as much as Green Bay, I'm still suspect about Green Bay. Like what they did with Washington is a good start. I don't know if they can continue that pace, especially with Arizona's defense. So, and like you said, Alex Smith has been managing the game ever since. I can see them moving on at this point. The one thing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, if I had to choose my Super Bowl, I would like to see a Kansas City Carolina Super Bowl.
To be honest, I would love to see that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think that would be awesome. One, because it's two teams that you won't necessarily see or you would think that would make it to the Super Bowl. Secondly, they're both playing excellent ball. So I'd like to see what happens. I'd probably be totally wrong, probably be Seattle, Arizona, NFC Championship game, and then, probably be, I don't know, Seattle throttled Arizona the last time they played, so might be Seattle again, and then of course you got New England, Denver. Either way, I'm just tired of New England. I'm tired of Denver. Just want to see some fresh blood, some new faces up and down. I would love to see the Jets make it. I would love to see some other teams make it, but until these other teams start stepping up and taking care of business the way they need to take care of, I guess we'll still see Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and the usual suspects at QB leading their teams to Super Bowls. So
no, it's not just NFL. That's I mean, for the life of me, I was so hoping Clemson would have beat Alabama.
Oh, same.
Because I
Alabama.
Yeah, it's like it's like Alabama is right now is a dynasty with college football right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I would love to see other teams, take care of business. Like, I mean, that's why I root for the underdog sometimes, because it's just refreshing to see somebody new do something. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw the Clemson Alabama game, I was just like, when I saw that they won, when Alabama won, I was like, wow, okay.
Yep,
another championship would be okay. I mean, I know the fans are going crazy and everything like that, but to be honest, I would rather see somebody else win. I mean, to be honest, I'd be happy if New England gets knocked out, if Green Bay gets knocked out, if Seattle gets knocked out, and if Denver gets knocked out, because that way it'll be different teams, like first time in a long time teams going for the Super Bowl instead of the usual suspects all the time.
Got that right, man. I feel the same exact way, wholeheartedly. It's just, but again, you can't knock teams that have great quarterbacks. When they have those great quarterbacks, they tend to play well and know how to win, and that's all they're used to, and that's all they're going to do. I mean, that's why New England's always been successful. Despite running back issues and wide receiver issues, they've always won. They've always had enough to propel them to 12 win seasons. Even when Brady went down, and Castle ran the show there, they still won, I think, 10 or 11 games. They didn't make the playoffs, but that just goes to show how well run their system is.
Yeah, it's definitely all about how the system is run. Same thing like with the Spurs of the NBA.
Right.
You know,
I love the Spurs though.
Regardless of who is running it, it's so tight there. Like, and it's funny because even assistant coaches that's under Pop, if they go and head coach another team, 9 times out of 10, they'll have a winning record than what they usually have. Just like the dude from Atlanta, the head coach of Atlanta, I forgot his name, but he used to be the assistant coach of Greg Popovich, and last year he took his team to like one of the best records in the East.
Yep.
So,
yep. I mean, it's a culture, man. It's a shame that if you want to switch over to the Spurs, like how well Pop is running his team, but yet not many of his assistant coaches go on and coach NBA teams, which is crazy because you would think that philosophy is working so well, but you got to have the type of player that sit there and buy into that system. If you don't have that type of player that buy into that system, then I don't think it'll work.
Well, I mean, definitely with the players that you have, but you also have to understand, and this is what I found out in regards to like again, I'm talking about my Nets. Like the GM has to be on point, because if the GM is not on point, you can see there's a disconnect. Like last year with the Hawks, they had the best record, but yet when this all season came about, they let one of their best players, or their best defensive player, one of their glue guys, leave Atlanta to go to Toronto. And once he did that and left, now look at Atlanta. I mean, they're doing well, but it wasn't as well as they was from previous year because that guy was a critical piece to that team.
Right.
So, the GM has to make sure that whatever they do, they keep the core guys that's needed in place. And not for nothing, I could talk all day about what the Nets did, but as far as the GM is concerned, and as far as like with my Nets, Lionel Hollins only could do what he could with the players he had. Billy King pretty much set him up to fail for this coming year. I mean, he was all in for what he did as far as try to bring Garnett and Pierce in, but in doing so, he risked the future of the Nets to try and gambled on Garnett and Pierce, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. And now look at him; he resigned with the team. So GMs has to be careful as far as not to mess up the chemistry with the teams. Like with Pop, like they didn't lose key players; they brought in like players to help build around their core team. You would never see Duncan, Parker, Ginobili get traded or leave free agency because they know what they're getting if they stay with the Spurs. And then now you get other players coming in like David West playing for $1 million, which is far less than what he was making previous team. And you got LaMarcus Aldridge. And now you got those type of people coming in. Like that offset some of the players that may have left, but it offsets them because now they know that they got better pieces to their team.
I agree.
And general managers need to do whatever they can to keep the core pieces of their team and not lose them to free agency. And majority of GMs don't know how to do that, or can't convince the players to stay.
Well, I mean, that's the difference between somebody who's money hungry or somebody who wants to win.
That's true.
Somebody who's money hungry is going to go chase the money. Somebody who wants to win is willing to sacrifice a couple $1 million in there to make sure that they get the right pieces because they know in the long run they'll get that money.
That's true. No, I completely agree with you. But we could continue more about this next week when we talk more guys talking sports. But for now, we're going to it's time to pretty much roll out. So I'd like to thank Adrian Catwell for taking the time and talk with me about guys talking sport, or talking with me on guys talking sports. So Adrian, man, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at AdrianCat1963. Once again, that's AdrianCat1963 on Twitter.
All right, and for those, you can find me on I Am Al Qualls on Twitter and on Instagram as well, and on Facebook now. You can catch me there as well. I'd like to thank everybody for checking us out. Again, for those on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, please. We appreciate the people that already subscribe, of course. But if you like the channel, subscribe to it. Also, you could catch us on iTunes. You can download the podcast on iTunes if you have an iPad, iOS device. You can also download there. I haven't really gotten to where you could download us on Android yet, but you can do that as well. We have the RSS feed out there. But for now, I'd like to thank you guys for checking us out. And until next time, take care.